this. Look at that.
We can't see it.
Yo,
Listen,
Dude,
I would
wow,
get
you
I
Los.
would get
ain't a
the
big
8
baller
plus.
if you're 8,
Wow,
dude.
Los, your guy looks really cool. I didn't. Wow, I didn't. Wow.
Bro, you actually paid money for that.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Like,
how much? How much was he?
I think $10.
Oh,
bro,
shoot.
like you legit just bought a virtual card.
Gamers are known for being the most swaggiest, most well-dressed people of all time. Well, maybe not IRL, but on the game at least. Like, fighting game players will really spend hours making their characters look super unique just to show up to the tourney looking like this. It's actually kind of crazy how much care and attention a lot of these people put into their characters' look, but have no interest in the real world equivalent of fashion. 42 and white boys were never putting that shit on until they added back blings. And now that shit has doubled since the introduction of kicks. But does your cosmetic appearance even matter? What's the point of paying or earning something if the gameplay is going to be exactly the same with or without them? But even knowing that, we're still all going to want to play as Master Chief with Jordans rather than just the default skin in Fortnite. In my opinion, I believe that video games and fashion go hand in hand. And when you start talking about a player's agency to control how their characters looks, that's when it gets the most crucial. If you've been around the gaming sphere for long enough, aka not born 10 years ago, you know there was a great shift when it came to how games were monetized. A company would make a game, release it, then for the next year or so, they would have DLC packs that you would either pay for, whether that be characters, map packs, weapons, skins, whatever. At the time, everyone hated this monetization model, and how could you not? At best, it locked content behind its paywall, and at its worst, it played up the player base for co-op and PvP games. Everyone agreed that this model of monetization was unhealthy for the game, and something needed to be changed. And then as the prophecy foretold, that change came, with the prophet being the almighty Fortnite Battle Royale, and the concept of monetization through skins and battle passes. But just like how people turn on that one dude from that one book, gamers started acting like battle passes were the worst thing to ever happen to gaming. Which, come on, the worst? I'm not gonna go on no tangent, but if I had to pick between battle passes versus DLCs, you know which one I'm picking. Both have their glaring problems, but let's not act like we asked for something to be changed. One of those big problems is something that went missing with this new age of monetization. Before the Great Shift, the only way of getting cosmetics was through working for them through unlockables and real progression. Sometimes you can get that exclusive cosmetic through like a pre-order bonus or buying it through the shop, but those didn't make up the bulk of the cosmetics of the game. The small pro of having cosmetics be unlockables is when you get to show it off to other players, and there's an implied story when you actually use that skin. Like, you know, when you see somebody with Dark Matter or Black Ops, you know they grinded their ass off for that. And along with the progression of time, if the game just came out, you know they didn't go outside for a few days and they stink. And you know that by just the one skin they're wearing right now. Like I was saying, the worst thing about this multiplayer era was that players were excluded from content if they weren't constantly paying for it. And for a kid with no access to consistent income, these DLCs were painful. And for the people who did have them, they were a minor inconvenience. Spending $15 to $20 for around 4 to 5 maps, new weapons, cosmetics, content sounds like a pretty good deal, especially when we're talking about today's prices. Like, on paper this seems fire, but all this really does is split up the player base. As for a kid, it's hard to ask for a $50 season pass or $20 every other week for a game. And splitting up the player base like this doesn't only hurt the players who aren't paying, but the players who are playing, as now these DLC contents are less populated than the main game, meaning the longevity of that DLC and their content diminishes quickly. Just look at a game like Battlefield Hardline. Not popular on release, and the DLC definitely wasn't popular because you had to buy the season pass for them, and no one was already playing the game, so imagine trying to play a DLC lobby for that game. Nowadays, the only thing you can spend money on are skins inside the in-game stores. And now all the players have access to the same amount of content as long as they paid the entry fee. Nowadays, battle passes and skins are the main means of monetization in multiplayer games, and when I mean main, I mean main. Ever since the popularity of Fortnite, every multiplayer game seems to need to have a battle pass, to the point where games that were released before Fortnite had the whole monetization changed just to ride on this new monetization wave. Games like Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch, which released an entire fake sequel just to switch up the monetization. On the topic of Overwatch, this system is way better than having skins locked behind mystery packs, and that is my worst thing that ever happened to video games. The only game of recent time that still does that is like Apex Legends, kind of, barely. And you know how that's going, so it's not even worth my time to really talk about it. But another thing that comes along with this is that every game nowadays basically is trying their absolute hardest to make players want to spend money on their game, to varying levels of success and varying levels of effort. Remember when I asked if cosmetics were important to the overall gameplay? Well, I'm changing my answer to yes. What you go do about it? Now, the reason I say this is because in an interactive medium like video games, player expressions is one of the medium's greatest strengths. Playing how we want is why we're here in the first place. Now, a game can let a player express themselves in many ways. Through path in a story, through dialogue options, the use of the tools the game gives them, and the obvious reason why we're here, cosmetics. And when talking about multiplayer games, the second form of expression is crucial, especially if the game's PvP. You want to see what a multiplayer game looks like with no player expression? Just look at any game of awful balancing where all the players are using the same weapons. And when everyone's forced to play the same way, not everyone's going to enjoy that. And just like how gameplay expression could be crucial to a player's enjoyment, one can make the argument that cosmetics are equally as important to a player's enjoyment / engagement if done correctly. Just look at the explosive rise of games like Dress to Impress on Roblox. The only gameplay is dressing up, but for some reason people love the game. Like with any game, if you perfect player expression, people will naturally be tied to that game until they feel like they can't express themselves no more. And that's why a lot of people will burn out from a game because they feel like there's not enough to do anymore, or the game feels repetitive to them. Now, if you're even a little bit like me, you probably hold clothes in a higher regard than other people would, to some sort of extent. And I'm willing to guess that's because it's a way for you to express yourself in the real world. Ultimately, the clothes you buy are only as important as the value you give them. The thong is only a statement piece, if it's Rick Owens. But that vain level of importance is important to the vain. There are still people who like to wear what they want to wear, even if it's a bit much. I don't even know why video games bring out the need for us to dress. I think it's a mix between wanting to be distinct from everyone else and just wanting to express yourself. The exact reason why people do it IRL. For all my fashion loving people, you know that feeling when you get a piece of clothing that just speaks to you and you consider it one of your own, a staple of your wardrobe, only to then see someone else wearing it? Yeah, it's not a good feeling, right? Like that piece is supposed to be yours, not Jim Bob and I's piece. And when it comes to multiplayer games, it's that same effect. And that makes you chase higher rarity items so that cosmetic could be truly yours. And I'm not just talking. There's a reason why people like the idea of having a Fortnite skin that hasn't been around in the shop for like 3,000, 2,000 days. Now when it comes to cosmetics, making players feel that special exclusivity is a big factor whether you like to admit it or not. The thing you like is way cooler when it's easy to think that you're the only one who has it. This is why some people are going to feel away when their favorite cosmetic comes back to the shop after not being purchasable for a certain amount of time.
If you buy Renegade Raider today, you're a fucking loser, bro. I was gonna tweet that earlier, but I don't want to piss people off, you know, because, you know, I know a lot of people will get mad. If you buy it today, you're a fucking loser, bro, okay? Let me and the rest of the OGs have one thing. Can you let us have one thing, bro? These fucking new Fortnite, oh dude, your balls haven't even dropped yet. You're running around and you don't deserve a fucking, Renegade Raider, bro. You don't deserve it.
Just like how Aaron skins can tell you something about a player, seasonal skins can tell you how long a player has been playing. But if you're a person who bought an account with that seasonal skin just so you can flex on other people, don't get mad if it ever gets brought back to the shop because you weren't there in the first place. My favorite example of this is not Renegade Raider, surprisingly, but the OG Black Ice in Rainbow Six Siege. For context, Black Ice is one of the most sought after skins in Rainbow Six for 2 reasons. It's cool as shit, and 2, it was rare. It was only released in the first season, so players knew it was never coming back. So any player who was playing in like year 2, even season 2, was shit out of luck until Ubisoft announced them coming back in battle packs. And these battle packs weren't seasonal, and you could just earn them by playing through the game. Now, yeah, they were random, but like you still had a chance. But for those who were playing more consistently, you would have more Black Ice than anyone else would, which I believe is a good thing. Time and effort should be rewarded with exclusive cosmetics. But just like how we're saying, bringing back the original Black Ice would be a travesty. People would be in an uproar. So the Black Ice that we actually got was slightly different from the original, as you can see from the pictures. Now everybody's happy. The players who were playing back in the season when the game was butt cheeks could brag about their badge of honor of playing during Siege's Meiji restoration period. And the people who weren't can still earn a rare skin that is kind of like the original, but not really. And I think this is an amazing way to do this. But when Fortnite does it for some reason, no one gives a fuck. Not a single soul is ever happy to see a remixed version of an old skin. Except for that one night that was in the OG Battle Pass. But I don't even count that because that's just a one outlier. This only proves that most people like some cosmetics for their rarity alone. Because I was there and I'll tell you right now, nobody was hyped for Renegade Raider and the black dude with the helmet back when they first came out. Nobody really cared. A skin with some crazy hype though was the Raptor. Everybody wanted the Raptor because it was cool as shit. and not no overinflated bullshit rarity hype. Man, a lot of you would wear a dunce cap if it hasn't been in the shop for 1,200 days. Like, I don't understand y'all. But that's exactly how they get you. There's a reason why since its inception, Fortnite and other item shops are constantly rotating to capitalize on that FOMO. If you don't have FOMO at the start, you will get it eventually, because then you're gonna remember that one skin that you didn't buy but you were low-key thinking about, and now it's been like 100 days and it's never came back. And when you see a new skin, you're like, I might as well buy it. I don't know when it's ever gonna be in the shop again, especially when it comes to collabs. GG's, they just took money from you and you're never gonna use the skin ever. And now that companies have seen the method in full effect, they are willing to exploit and inflate their in-game stores with all types of cosmetics, even if it's questionable or just like shameful. And these skins be dumb expensive. Like $20 plus in a free-to-play game like Fortnite or Marvel Rivals? Yeah, sure, I guess you could get away with it, but in a full-price game is some wild shit. The worst thing nowadays is in a game like Call of Duty, you are getting no type of cosmetics if you're not buying anything. This is sick work. When it comes to progression in video games, cosmetics have taken the farthest back seat. Man, back seat, man, like they damn near at the trunk at this point. And even in full-price single-player games, sometimes the only microtransactions will be cosmetics that can't be earned through the game, which is not inherently wrong. But when you can't earn any other cosmetics in the game through unlockables, what the, like how did we even get to this point? Like I was saying, for free-to-play games, $20 for a skin isn't the craziest thing in the world, but that's where they get you. And then they start inflating the item shop with more BS and higher prices. I'm gonna use Fortnite for my example because we all play Fortnite. If you play Fortnite at the very beginning, at its inception, you know that the item shop was 10 times smaller. And that might even be an understatement. Nowadays, when you turn on the game, you gotta go through the entire item shop like a grandpa going through the newspaper in the morning before you can even ready up. Cause who knows what's in there? They now got all types of shit in there. From, you know, your skins, your axes, your gliders, to your real world car models, which are severely overpriced, shoes which are overpriced too, music tracks, 30 different battle passes. It's like the item shop has gotten huge. If you got a Fortnite shoe rotation equivalent or bigger to somebody's IRL shoe rotation, you got it, big bro. You the swaggiest. Now I'm just gonna go through some games, shotgun through, talk about why they have good or bad cosmetic expression. Call of Duty, mainly talking about the modern games. Not a good place to start. You can't even see the skins. They're overpriced as hell. They always come in bundles, so you can't pick and choose what you really want. And on top of that, the game is already $70. Apex Legends, the same thing. This time with loot boxes too. Awful. D tier. Seasonal items, which is like super bad, mixed with loot boxes. But at least sometimes you get to see your character skin through banners and shit. But still, overall, just bad. For most of the Battlefield games, with the exception of BF1, there's no real gun skins that are really worth grinding for, that are really special. BF5's character customization was pretty big compared to the rest of the games, but it's still an FPS. You don't really get to see your characters until like the round is over. So the main focus should be the guns. Only issue is loot boxes. Loot boxes in BF1s were pretty bad, so you couldn't really, so it took a while for you to actually get the skins that you wanted. But once you did, it felt amazing. And on that note, that's one of the areas where Call of Duty actually does pretty good. The mastery challenges and mastery camos, you get a nice linear grind that's not based off random chance. Now looking at games with some better cosmetic expression. Splatoon. This might as well be one of the best examples for fashion in a video game. The only issue with its system is that your looks are tied to your stats. Like, you kind of want to let players dress however they want without being forced to grind with ill-equipped equipment. Something like what Monster Hunter has been doing lately with their layered armor system gets around this, allowing you to get the skills and stats of one armor piece but display it as a completely different one, letting players not have to pick between swag or efficiency like in some other games. Just like how I was saying, there's nothing really wrong with having a grind to look good. For some Monster Hunter players, that's the reason why they keep coming back. But the game has to make sure that that grind for looking good and being optimal isn't a complete drag like it is in the Splatoon series. Moving on to Pokemon X and Y. I don't know why, since it's been introduced, character customization has not been to the same extent as it was in X and Y, because when it comes to cosmetic expression, these two games are at the top of the mountain. And the fact that you can't just buy every piece of clothing from one clothing area, meaning you see more options the farther you get into the game naturally, is amazing. Just French kiss game design, honestly. I already glazed and hated on Fortnite enough today, but I had to give it its flowers. There are so many combinations of outfits nowadays in Fortnite. It's actually unreal to say the least. The only problem is a lot of it's obviously stuck behind a paywall, but the battle passes are still some of the best in gaming, considering the amount of cosmetics you get, the quality of the cosmetics. Unlike other games where they have you spend $10 and you get some of the worst cosmetics you've ever seen. Like why would I put this to my character? I might as well just wear the default. Because I brought him up earlier, I had to talk about fighting games. Multi-Blood Type, Lumina, and Under Night In-Birth are my personal favorite fighting games when it comes to character customization. Why? Because there's so many options, not only from the base color palettes, but the custom ones too. And honestly, it's super refreshing to hop online with your own unique color palette. But that's just from fighting games I played. The crown definitely has to go to Tekken because it's obviously 3D, and because of that you have a lot more to work with than just changing the color from red to purple. You could throw on a jacket, a wig, this and that. It's crazy what some of the Tekken people be coming up with every time a new character drop. It's fire. It's fire.
The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I see a lot of people focus on fashion and design when it comes to single player games and never really focusing on multiplayer games. And I think that part of the industry is very underlooked in comparison, because I think it's just as important. Definitely shouts out to people like XDS because they really put fashion in video games on the map. I really wish the crossover between the two mediums was more apparent, but people like him really make it seem. I mean, that's really it. Bye bye.